What's going on, everyone? Corey from Yota Xpedition here, and in this video we're going to be doing an install on a TRD cold air intake on our 4Runner. Some reasons you may want an aftermarket cold air intake for your Toyota would be performance, though the horsepower gain is minimal. The potential to still make some horsepower is there. Another big reason would be sound. An aftermarket cold air intake definitely will sound a lot better or deeper tone than an OEM intake. And another good reason would be just looks. It looks a lot better under the hood than your OEM intake. So let's take a look in this box and see what's all included. So we have some couplers here. This is our main intake tube with TRD, nice and big on the side. We have some wire loom, some clamps, some other sort of fittings. This is the bottom tray. We have the upper tray with TRD nice on top. And we have the filter. I think that's it. So let's head over to the 4Runner. We're gonna get the OEM intake off. We're gonna get the TRD intake installed, show you guys how to do it, and then we'll get some before and after clips of both visuals and sounds. All right, so step one's gonna be pulling off this top cover. Simply just pull it up out of its rubber grommets and pull it towards you. Comes right off. All right, once we have this top cover off, we can go ahead and disconnect the MAF plug. We have a clamp here holding this hose to the airbox. We also have a clamp holding the pipe onto the throttle body. We have a bolt right here holding this to a bracket. Then we also have to take off this line and this small vacuum line here. So go ahead and disconnect the MAF plug. And we're going to take a Phillips head screwdriver and loosen these clamps. And then we're going to need a 10mm socket to take this bolt off. And go ahead and pull off the vacuum line here. And then we can go ahead and pull off this hose. Now you're going to want to disconnect the wiring from the airbox. So you have one spot here, another spot right here, and then there's two down the side of the airbox. All right, so once you have this loom all disconnected from the airbox, you should be able to just undo the clamps here for the airbox and pull everything up in one shot. Just wiggle this back and forth. You will need to transfer your MAF sensor over to the new intake tube. Next, we can pull out the air filter, and then below that you'll find two 12mm bolts that hold the airbox to the chassis. And then you have a third bolt on the back side of the airbox. Once you took those three bolts out, simply pull the bottom of the airbox out. So once you have the airbox out, we're going to have to remove these three bushings here and transfer them to the TRD intake box. Start by pulling out the metal sleeves inside the rubber bushings. Now we can go ahead and pull out the rubber bushings. And then let's go ahead and reinstall those in reverse order on the TRD intake box. Put the rubber in first. And we'll go ahead and slide the metal sleeves in. Next, we're going to remove the MAF sensor here and transfer that to the TRD intake tube. just held on with 2 Phillips head screws. And that'll just come right out of the tube. When installing the MAF plug into the new intake tube, we're going to align the plug facing down if you are reading TRD, and then we're going to install the new hardware using a 3mm Allen wrench and just put a little dab of blue Loctite on each bolt. Okay, so before we install the TRD intake, we need to undo this wire loom in this section right here, because the wiring for the MAF plug is going to be running in a different direction than the OEM intake tube. So take off this electrical tape and the wire loom. Be careful not to cut the wire if you're using a razor blade. Just take your time. And then you're just going to isolate the MAF wire by itself like so. Put the loom back on this section and tape it, and then the kit comes with a new piece of wire loom. We're going to put that on the MAF plug. And go ahead and cut off the extra looming here. Once the wire loom is reinstalled onto the harness and you have your new wire loom on your MAF plug, we're going to go ahead, just put some electrical tape on this to hold it in place. Okay, so next we are going to install this coupler into the side of the fender well here, and then we can install the bottom portion of the airbox. All right, so now we can go ahead and put the lower portion of the airbox in place and push the airbox into that coupler we just installed. There are 2 tabs to lock it in place. And then we can line up the holes, put our 12mm bolts back in, and we can move on from there. We can go ahead and install the upper airbox clamps. These are going to hook into the side of the airbox here. Once you get it clipped in, pull up, it'll clip in place. And then there's another one here on the back side. So we can go ahead and install our new air filter. This is actually a lifetime air filter, so you don't have to worry about changing it. Just clean it out when it gets dirty. All right, so next we're gonna put this coupler onto the throttle body. These 2 fittings here are gonna be facing towards the back of the vehicle. And then you have a bigger side and a smaller side. The smaller side is gonna go onto your throttle body. Go ahead and insert this fitting into this hose here along with the clamp, and then that could go into the back side of that coupler. Next we can install the vacuum line that's included with the kit. That's going to go back onto your fuel pressure regulator. And then we can put this barb fitting here into that vacuum line and put it in the hole above the other line on that coupler. We can go ahead and remove this bracket right here. We won't be needing that anymore. It's just one 10mm bolt. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pre-assemble the upper section of the airbox on the bench before we install it on the 4Runner. So we have this rubber grommet here that's going to go into this hole on the upper section of the airbox, just like that. And then we have this diaphragm here that measures suction, and it pretty much just lets you know when the air filter needs to be cleaned, which is a pretty cool idea. That simply just pushes into that grommet like so. And then we can finish this off with the last coupler. Put the tube in so the TRD are both facing up. So let's go install this, and then we're pretty much finished. Now that we have this installed, we're just gonna go over all of our clamps, make sure everything's nice and tight. We can go ahead and hook up the MAF plug, and then we're finished. Included with the kit is this small push clip, and that's gonna go in the hole on the bottom side of the airbox right there. Last step, we just have to install the engine cover, so just slip that on the hooks in the back, bring it down onto the rubber grommets, push it in place, and we're finished. So now that we have this fully installed, let's take it outside, fire it up, do some revs, take it up and down the road a couple times, and see what the sound difference is like. So we just got back from our drive, and I have to say I'm actually pretty impressed with the way the intake sounds. It's definitely a lot louder than I was expecting, and it definitely looks better than the OEM one. Installation was pretty easy. The hardest part of the installation was just undoing the wire loom and rerouting the MAF plug, but everything went in pretty easily. And if this is something you're interested, it's available at YotaXpedition.com. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below, send us an email. So thanks for watching, and remember, your expedition is on the horizon. We're here to help you get there.